Okay, this is going to be a rather unusual video, I guess. What I'm going to be doing is soloing Earth using an extremely nerfed version of the Catherine Gaza, because apparently there's been quite a bit of talk in forums and discussions and all that jazz that apparently Railjack is just so difficult at the start that it's completely inaccessible. I'm not entirely sure. I don't even think it's entirely difficult to get into even at the very start of Railjack when you have just built your ship for the very first time. I think it's actually okay. Not like the easiest thing in the world, but I think it's okay. So let's have a look. Here we are in the dry dock with my Titania with the Catherine Gaza. Like I said, it's in an extremely nerfed state. What do I mean by that? Well, here we are using a Sigma Shield Array Mark 1. That's right, the Mark 1 of a Sigma Shield Array, which you can build at the clan. It's a clan tech research. So this gives us a whopping 200 shield capacity, which is it's okay. If you compare it real quick to the Z-Key shield array that I normally use, that's a little under half the shield capacity, and there's none of those extra bits and bobs, so that's what we're using, okay? The Sigma Engines Mark 1 gives us a whopping 10 meters a second of engine speed, and if you compare it to my normal Vida Engines Mark 3, we are looking at a little less than a fifth of that speed, and also no boost modifier, so oh well, that's okay. For a Mark 1 engine on Earth, it was not the worst thing in the world, and I think it's going to be just fine. And finally, for our reactor, we're using a Sigma Reactor Mark 1. So if you're able to get yourself a Sigma Reactor Mark 1, especially if your clan has actually been keeping up with the research, then I think you should be okay. You'll probably end up with a built reactor, a branded reactor if you will, a drop from Earth, which will probably be a lot better than the Sigma Reactor Mark 1. I haven't really dived into the ins and outs of which reactor would probably be the best on Earth, but essentially, I think you can get by with even a Sigma Reactor Mark 1, so we should be a-okay. But just keep in mind we're going with 10 extra Avionics capacity, so if we jump over to our Avionics, this is an Avionics Grid that we're using at the moment that is obviously super duper empty. So we're using Conic Nozzle, we're using Ion Burn, which is the Z-Key kind, we're using Particle Ram, and we're using Seeker Volley. Keep in mind that this entire grid has been upgraded, and there's nothing we can really do about that in order to emulate the new player experience. So I think what you should do if you really want to like try and solo Earth and really get in there as a new player, you probably want to be focusing on getting a Particle Ram, which is really common, and then you may want to try and upgrade your Particle Ram as much as you can by the time you reach the final mission, which is what we're going to be doing today. Otherwise, if you can somehow use enough Dirac to get your speed up, I think that's going to be a really good idea. As you can see, and as I will be demonstrating with this Avionics Grid, I'm not using bulkhead of any kind, so we're not going to be even using any survivability avionics at all. Even then, we're going to be more or less fine, okay? Also, keep in mind, no tactical avionics, none of that jazz. Now, before we continue into our intrinsics, let's just quickly look at the armaments that we're using. The only armament that I think really matters is the Tycho Seeker. Tycho Seeker is capable of one-shotting pretty much everything on Earth, especially as a Mark 1. It's actually fine. It's perfectly fine the way it is, okay? Otherwise, I am just going to be using a Photon Mark 1. That's just because I'm going to be staying as the pilot, so I don't want to be firing a weapon that's like a Mark 3, because that will just completely screw up the entire demonstration altogether, okay? Awesome. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to intrinsics, again, just like my Avionics Grid being completely and utterly upgraded, I can't really do anything about my intrinsics. So we're just going to basically be trying to ignore as many of these intrinsics as we can. I believe by the time you make it to the final mission of Earth, you should end up with at least enough intrinsics to get Recall Warp. If you can get Recall Warp, which is rank 4 tactical, that is super duper useful. I highly recommend getting that one. It's probably the most like openly useful intrinsic in the game, okay? Otherwise, when it comes to piloting, we should still be able to get maybe rank 2, because rank 2 I believe only requires 3 intrinsics, but you should have plenty enough intrinsics to get at least 3 to put into piloting, so that's going to be really good. And then for gunnery, the only thing that really matters at this present moment by the time you reach the final mission on Earth is probably just target sync. So if you can sync maybe just 1 intrinsic into gunnery, you should be a-okay. That'll at least give you that lead indicator, so it makes it a lot easier to shoot. Also, ordinances will have lock-on, but as far as I can tell, that only applies to the Tycho Seeker. The Melati dumbfire missiles, they don't have actually any lock-on, and the Galvark is a weapon that automatically locks on as far as I can tell. So it's really just for your Tycho Seeker. And for our engineering, if you can try and sink 3 intrinsics in there, I think that'll be a really, really good idea, because that'll get you to rank 2, which will give you some flux, which means you could, if you are actually just using particle RAM though, you don't really need flux forge. If you are going to be using seeker volley as well, because you somehow have enough materials to build yourself the Sigma Reactor Mark 1, actually that should be rather reasonable, to be honest. If you're able to do that, then you probably want to be building some flux in your forge as well. Okay, so here we are at Corm's Belt in the Earth Proxima. So what we're going to do first is we're going to activate Particle RAM, because Particle RAM is always super duper useful. So if you are able to, again, max it out, that's probably the first thing you want to do. As you can see, a maxed out Particle RAM does tons and tons and tons of damage, to the point where it's actually even useful in Veil missions, although with the whole forward motion thing, it's probably going to be a lot more difficult to use when Railjack Revice comes out. That's assuming it doesn't come out before this video comes out. Because we're not using Anastasis, I'm actually going to hop out of the pilot seat for just a second. We might as well fix this particular minor breach before it causes some problems. So, where are we? There it is.
Depression levels.
Now I see a cruise ship, and without some of our gunner intrinsics, I'm not entirely keen to attack the cruise ship head on like I normally would. Alrighty, here we go.
Heads up, ready air cruise ship.
Because we're not going up against Veil cruise ships, we don't actually need to break a shield, which makes it a lot easier to actually kill those cruise ships. One more cruise ship. Man, they really do come out in waves. Once the first one shows up, they all show up. Okay, here we have an Outrider. You could try to aim for the weak spots, or you could just shoot a missile at it. It's very simple. Uh-oh. We're about to blow up. That's not helpful. Kind of explains why we couldn't use our abilities either. Activated the Seeker Volley and it did nothing because under catastrophic circumstances it actually won't work, just straight up. What is this? Oh, it's a bomb. Wait, don't I need to...
Crew, our time is half up. Defuse that bomb. Rush job. Improvised. This thing would have barely scratched the paint.
Alright, let's see if we can blow up the ship manually in less than a minute. Cool. So we have done all of that. That was easy enough. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to jump out from about 5 kilometers away because those missiles typically do so much damage that it's pretty much a guaranteed catastrophic breach. So we don't really want to engage the galleon like that. If DE were to actually implement some anti-galleon mechanics as part of the forward artillery, I am all for that. I think that would be really, really cool. So in the meantime, we're just going to approach it manually, like we approach all our cruise ships, because again, we're not using the slingshot. And this turns into a normal mission. Okay. So let's just kill this captain. Voila.
Terminated. Galleon in disarray. Objective.
Yeah, so if you have tactical level 4, I think, which I highly recommend you get at the start, boom, just like that. We have effectively completed the final Earth mission. So,
Sealant applied.
I don't know, I don't feel like it's particularly difficult to solo Earth like this when you have some things unlocked. So that's basically it. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Are you struggling with Earth missions? Let me know. If you have any questions or queries, or if you need any guidance, I guess, feel free to hit me up in those comments. That's really what they're there for. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you liked this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more WarFrame content, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!